Each station is about what? Can somebody already tell? Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. Very good. And so as you go through the stations, that's going to be the common thread. Okay? And nobody should go, because you probably haven't read Shakespeare yet, so you don't even know what you've been missing, okay? I was like, what kind of engaging and memorable experience could I create for my kids that would allow them to learn, but also to move, to work together, and to just do something a little different. And so I set my room up in stations, and it went so well that I was like, why don't I use this for other stuff too? It doesn't just have to be on a special occasion. It could be all the time. So for preparing them for stations, the biggest thing is just repetition. Once they do it a few times, it's just second nature. At times, at the very beginning of the year, it would be frustrating, and they'd say, which way do we rotate? What are we doing here? And it's that reminder of like, you have directions on your desk. I'm going to tell you when to rotate. I'll show you where to go. Kind of those reminders. But because, we do them on the very first day of class, that it's built in as this is something we're going to do. Good. Perfect. Yeah. All right, I think we're going to switch because it looks like most groups are finishing up. Okay? So grab your stuff, straighten up your area, okay, and rotate. Okay, so I've done stations with all size classes and all grade levels. Right now I have 20 juniors, and so I do stations with them, and they're honors students. But I also, last semester, had 33 juniors and was able to do stations with them. So numbers, like, it can work no matter what. Sometimes I can do smaller groups and only have 2 or 3 people at each station. Sometimes I just have fewer stations and still 4 people in each group. As far as levels go, I've done stations with, like I said, honors students, but also with, in my inclusion class, I've done it across the board. So many students benefit from them, and not just because of the educational benefits, but even just the ability to move, to speak with one another, to get answers and help from another student, and to even have more one-on-one time with me. Okay, 2 households, both alike in dignity. 2 households. That's a good guess. If you are attempting stations that you have to be willing to work hard at first, it's very hard to come up with stations if you've never done it, because you don't realize that so many of the things that you're doing could really be a station. So take a step back and think about, what do I want my students to accomplish? What are we going to do this class period anyway? And what of those things could just be built into a station? Also remember that you can use things that you're already going to do with your kids. My kids are already going to do vocabulary this week, so I could just make vocabulary a station. At this one, you're going to look at Shakespeare's language. Okay, there's 10 phrases, and you're going to try to translate them into how we would say them today. So when students finish early, the goal is that they have another station that maybe they didn't finish, so they can pick up where they left off on that. Or they have some kind of other, for mine, they have an activity we do every week, so they can just pull that out and kind of continue that, working on that. So they should always have something to do. Sometimes they might just have a book to read. That's fine too. Sometimes they can just help the other people in the group. To me, that's one of the most valuable parts of it. When you're in a lecture class and you're sitting in the back and you're being quiet, you kind of get to hide. And I think there's certain kids who that's not good, and they don't want the attention drawn to them. So stations kind of allow you to connect with those kids in a new way. So I have certain kids who walk in the room and say, not stations, and I have other kids who walk in the room and say, yes, stations. And so I'd say most are on that end of excitement over stations, but you are going to have kids who have negative reactions to it, and I think that's anything that we as teachers, especially in high school, try to do. There's never 100% consensus that everything's awesome. So, but yeah, I think that the majority enjoy them, even if they pretend not to sometimes.